And if the Republicans in the House and the Senate were sincere about rolling back U.S. aid because of all of these problems with it, then they would just pass a bill and Donald Trump would sign it. And there'd be some transparency about this process. But what they want to do is they want to tear down the administrative state. And they will replace it with either nothing or private contractors. You're not going to, if you are somebody who believes that getting rid of the U.S. aid is going to somehow defang the CIA, you're only right insofar as it's going to be Palantir, whose stock incidentally went up today significantly. Yeah. You're only going to see Palantir or Jay or whatever they call, Prince's outfit. You're only going to see these private spies take their place. And if you are somebody who thinks that it's supporting too much DEI or Hamas protesters in colleges or whatever the fantasy you have, what this is really about, and I think the contracting is is just like one of those things that's going to appease a certain group of people. This is about deconstructing other agencies. Here is Elon Musk last night at 1 a.m. with Vivek at a Twitter Spaces event, sort of giving their this is their evening circle jerk, where they talk about what they're really up to.
I think in addition to that executive order, which I certainly applaud, I think we need to go in and do wholesale removal of regulations. Like regulations basically should be default gone. Default gone, not default there, default gone. And if it turns out that we missed the mark on a regulation, we always add it back in. These regulations are added willy-nilly all the time. So we just got to do wholesale spring cleaning of regulation and get the government off the backs of everyday Americans so people can get things done. And the government doesn't have a sort of boot on the neck of the average American.
Okay, I'm sorry. I held off as long as I could. You don't know anything. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about our government. He doesn't know how it works. He doesn't care how it works. He doesn't know about our regulations. He doesn't know how they come to being. He doesn't know how our agencies work. All he knows is big hammer smash. I don't like this. I want to be able to loot and get to my trillionaire number at the beginning, as soon as possible. And as much as I can break up of this government and this apparatus that's there to deliver for regular people, the better it gets. Because when he says these regulations are burdensome on regular people, point to one regulation that's burdensome on regular people. I don't know, like building codes so houses don't fall on top of people, water regulations so it doesn't poison people, meat processing regulations so that disease doesn't spread in our food. Point to the regulations you're talking about, because the one that I'm hearing about recently has to do with our air traffic controllers and the FAA, because you were bitching because of a $700,000 fine that the FAA levied at you because you decided to launch your toys into space without the proper authorization, and then you're saying that regular people are going to have to deal with that kind of oversight. No, that's you. So let's not democratize your narcissism. What a freak. I
think he knows exactly what he's talking about because he's lying.
I get it.
He knows it's not on the American public. This is the game that they're playing. They describe it as if regulations. No, what regulations do the exact opposite. They protect the average American. They protect their food supply. They protect their air, their water. They keep them from getting cancer so that companies can profit by cutting costs and offloading that expense on them. And so this is all about that. And they're going to do this systematically. They're starting with what they perceive the low-hanging fruit is, USAID, and they have announced today they're going after the Department of Education. And the Department of Education is essentially what the radical Republicans started in Reconstruction, because they understood that the importance of helping freed slaves get educated so they could be full citizens. make no mistake, the Republicans, following 1965, essentially, the people who were against this, the Dixiecrats, the Democrats in 1867, who are now Republicans, it's their legacy, they are against this because it is still coded that way, because the Department of Education goes in and makes sure that there is at least some attempt at parity for schools. And they're going to take out the Department of Education. That's next. This is all completely illegal, illicit. And so they'll make it a debate about the value of USAID. And you can fall into that trap and say it's a front for the CIA. Well, then if it is, and I think there's no doubt in my mind that part of USAID is dedicated towards influencing at various ways other people's governments, and a long history, and I'm against that. I'm against it when we do it. I'm against it when other countries do it. I don't believe that we should have a country without an intelligence agency. The question is, do we do this transparently, and do we bring about reform? That's an entirely different question than whether the way you get rid of USAID is by having a billionaire go in there and destroy that as a model for what they're planning to do with the Department of Education, and then they're going to do with the EPA, and then they're going to do with the FDA, and then they're going to do with the SEC, and they're going to do with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they're just going to go one by one by one. This is week 2 now.
Yeah, I mean, just to stick to the intelligence thing, Peter Thiel was on Joe Rogan last year. Said, quote, "I think the deep state has become so much less of a threat to us in the last 50 years. I think you had the church committee hearings in the late 70s and somehow things got exposed. And then when bureaucracy is forced to be formalized, it probably becomes a lot less functional." That's Peter Thiel saying the church committee, which revealed assassinations of Castro, Trujillo, Lumumba, the COINTELPRO, Project Mockingbird, other MK Ultra. He doesn't like that created some sort of oversight over what the CIA was doing. And ever since the church committee, they have been looking to privatize more and more of these intelligence agencies. That's why Edward Snowden was a private contractor. This is a long-term trend that they are accelerating because Palantir is ready to eat it up right now.
Creates plausible deniability. That's what all of this stuff does. When you privatize it and you make it outsource it to a third party, it's the same thing with Blackwater,
zero oversight,
as Sam was saying earlier.
Now, I will say on the end of that, like I saw an interesting exchange about how do you fight back against this? Like, how do you message this? Do you go out there like Murphy and say, like, you know, China's going to gain on us, which, you know, I think they will in some ways that are like, they're going to be more benevolent than us. And they're also going to be, their intelligence agencies don't have the same checks or any more than ours do.
Well, the Biden administration tried this China competition stuff and it failed miserably. So maybe he should go a different direction.
It's unclear to me, I have to say. But like, because if you get out there and say what Elon Musk is doing is wrong, and you talk about a process game, you're going to put a lot of people to sleep.
No, you talk about what America is supposed to be in the world. And like, we know that functionally America operates as an empire that has been responsible for the massacre of millions of people, specifically like in the 20th century and on. But you, as a Democrat, you sell a positive vision of immigration. Immigration is what makes this country great. We look at the Statue of Liberty and what it represents. You sell it as a patriotic, idealized vision in the same way that you can sell USAID. The United States should be responsible for making the world better so we have partners and friends and not much conflict. Not this, like, that's how you sell it.
But do you sell, okay.
I want to compete with China.
But do you sell it based upon the merits of the agency or the illicitness of eliminating agencies? Like, do you make this about USAID which leaves the door open for another agency to be attacked because it's got, whatever, waste or abuse or whatever? Or do you say, this is not how our government functions? Republicans are failing. They want to get rid of agencies because they want to leave us, essentially the American public, without any protections. I don't know.
I agree with the second part. I think that maybe USAID is not the thing that we hinge it on, but you make it a broader point to make it about USAID. And then when they go after the Department of Education, that's what you make it about. Unelected billionaires are accessing your Social Security and your bank information right now. I don't know. But this is our central question.
Yep. How do you message that?
How do we message this?
We'll have a better
The Democrats
sense.
should figure it out. I mean, they could figure it out and come together on something.
Or you could A/B test it and see which one does better, because we're going to have plenty of opportunities.
What's most important here is that the consultants still stay employed.
We will, we will see. But this is the dilemma. And at the very least, people should be out there doing both. Nobody should be doing none of it. And I do think, it is unhelpful to argue that it's okay for what Musk is doing because of what the agency has been up to.
Yep. Agreed.
I think it's perfectly fine to say USAID needs to be curtailed because it's doing illicit stuff, but it needs to be done through Congress. And it's a hard sell to make to people. But the problem is that if you okay the process in which is going on here, if you actively okay the process, you're inviting this to happen to agencies that are unequivocally good. I mean, to the extent that anything is unequivocally good, whose mission is unequivocally good.
It's a big degradation that we went from an ability to have something like the church committee to whatever this Doge thing is, where we don't even address any of this stuff. And it's
Elon Musk doesn't give a
Exactly.
goddamn about the CIA interfering in any other elections. And to the extent that he does, it would only be at the behest of someone who's paying him more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we will coup whoever we want, guy.
Right.
Lastly, Null Fun F says, I work for a Canadian company that buys some colorants and fragrances from American firms, and we had meetings today about switching to Canadian suppliers, even if the tariffs were called off for the moment. So much trust and goodwill has been lost. And who's going to pay for this?
Yep.
Those small companies, their employees, their communities.
That's why Jamie Dimon doesn't care about this. The big guys at the top are going to actually benefit from the turmoil.
What do we call it? Disaster capitalism.
Yep.
We call it the shock doctrine.
All right, we got a lot more to talk about. We went very long today. Just a reminder, you can support this program by becoming a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. Check out Google state capitol protest. There's some at noon tomorrow at every state capitol around the country, as far as I know. It's worthwhile just like Googling protests this week. Just doing that for now.
There's a good one outside NYU Langone Hospital, of course, owned by Ken Langone. So maybe we shouldn't have billionaires owning our hospitals. But anyway, they are backing off trans care, and there's 1,000 people out there protesting last night.
Protests are not going to be enough, but it's not a bad thing to do, because going out there and protesting signals to other people that there are other people who are concerned about this. It helps people feel less alone.
It connects people.
It connects people, and it begins to organize, and it's inspiring to people. So while protest is insufficient, it is at least partially necessary, or it is helpful. Yeah. Let's put it that way. It is definitely insufficient, but it is helpful. Organizations get born out of these type of things. So
we just do our regulations willy-nilly.
you can check out the 50501 subreddit for info on protests too. Also, the Discord. Yes. Folks, majoritydiscord.com. If you ever have a question about anything, we've got over 12,000, 13,000 people in the Discord now. majoritydiscord.com. It's a great place to go and ask. People are very friendly there, and all sorts of conversations. But it's going to be an important hub to hear about protests and whatnot. Maybe we should even have a protest Discord where people can go in and post in there. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.